Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Mind Your Nest. I'm your host, Jennifer Rosen. And we're going to take a little step back today and talk about, I'm sure what's on a lot of people's mind, and that's the upcoming holiday. In any event, there are a lot of people that have some apprehension about the holiday, the anticipation of the holiday, the couple days before the holiday, the drive over of the holiday, and spending time with family. We've talked about it before that over the years, relationships ebb and flow, and sometimes they ebb to where they're estranged. Other times, people wound up having some sort of a reconciliation, which is always wonderful, as long as it worked for both parties. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is I've spent a bunch of time with my girl gang, and I've talked a lot about on the show before this amazing, fun, loving, hilarious, joyful group of girls. I mean, if you are sad or if you are down in the dumps about something, I mean, there's no way on earth that you will feel that way after spending, I don't know, probably like 10, 15 minutes with this group. There's been a lot of loss in my group of girlfriends of late. Dad's passing away, an aunt passing away, and some really heavy sadness. It's so interesting that a couple of my friends all lost their dad within a very short period of time, which obviously makes me reflect on the eve of the holiday, as well as my dad being gone and other people in our lives who are no longer here that really, really, really had that amazing place in our hearts. Sometimes that's the hardest part of the holiday. It's really not the spending time of family and friends that are left, but it's really trying to figure out what that feeling of sadness is. And it could be because that one or two loved ones, they're no longer here. So in lieu of that, and in light of the fact that there has been so much death, I thought I'd talk about an opportunity that we all have as we get ready to fly somewhere, take a long road trip, get ready to spend time with whoever family and friends you're going to spend time with. Hopefully you'll be surrounded by a loved one or two or people that you really love having in your life. And if that doesn't happen on Thanksgiving, then hopefully as time goes on and towards the holiday, the New Year, you wind up spending time with those important people in your life. So while we're getting ready for that, I wanted to talk about maybe topics of conversation that you could think about having this holiday season. And some of this stuff comes, natural. We just start talking about it. Hey, how are you? So good to see you. Janine, I'm so sorry for your loss. Is there anything I can do? Really taking care of the surviving family in their time of need. But also, aside from the basic, how are you doing? How's your heart? Do you need a hug? Is really finding out if there's really anything that can be done or if there's anything that you could do to help. For example, can you help provide the logistics or help call somebody in preparation for a funeral? Can you help keep track of people that are donating trays of food or are sending in donations in memory of your loved one that just passed? Can you help the family member not feel so overwhelmed by this process? And those are great first steps, especially because usually the person that's suffering from loss and is grieving, they're not really thinking about the things that they have to do. They're kind of just thinking about survival. And sometimes they don't even think about the basic, most needed survival skill, and that is to make sure that you're drinking and that you have something to eat. I always say, well, of course I remember to eat and drink. Like that's my number one all the time. But when you're stressed and when you're going through a really sad period of time, or elation for that matter, you kind of forget to do the basic things. Being there for people that are going through a very difficult time means something completely different. We're all good at certain things, and which means we're all good at helping in certain ways. Sometimes when a friend or a loved one is going through an emotional period of time, trauma, they're grieving, they could be blatantly emotional, crying, behaving in a distant kind of a manner. They might even appear cold. A lot of times that is that person's defense mechanism, and they just want to protect themselves, which is fine. So it's up to us, the friends and loved ones that are around everybody, is maybe to think a couple steps ahead and try to figure out, if that were me, how would I want to be treated? What would I really need? I'm going to do whatever I can to help, whether it's making sure that there are enough garbage bags and plastic forks and knives and spoons for after the service, and for Jewish people, we sit Shiva for those that aren't, even getting together afterwards to really spend time after the burial or after the service of saying goodbye to your loved one. Other topics of conversation that are really good to bring up during this time, are not only talking about memories of your loved one, but also it might be a good idea to just be honest and say, I need help. I need help planning. This death took me completely off guard. These are the things that I need help with. Number one is, where does this person live? Do they live in an apartment? Do they live in a house? Do they live in assisted living? Do they pass away at a hospice center? Really thinking about all the different elements of a person's life and where they lived, where all their belongings are, and I don't know, just what kind of life they lived on a daily matter, day to day, every single day. What do they do when they got up to what do they do when they went to sleep? And I know this is not the most fun and enjoyable conversation, but it is equally necessary. I've talked a lot about before on Mind Your Nest how I had a different experience growing up. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about minding your matters, minding your financial matters, taking care of things. And I can't emphasize enough how important this is and why it's a good idea to be talking about it as we enter into the holiday season. I know a lot of people are afraid, and a lot of people are afraid of asking personal questions. And a lot of people are afraid that somebody's going to get mad at them if they bring up these questions. And finally, there are a lot of people that don't even know the question to ask. So this seems like an overwhelming topic of conversation, but I'm here to ease you into it. And instead of making these conversations seem and put other people on the defensive, the desire to have these open conversations is really coming from a place of love and caring. As I said before, not having a plan is not a plan. And we all have the ability right now to start having those conversations. So it might not be a Shiva or a day or two after the burial of a loved one, but soon after that, I think that it's always healthy to get everybody together again. Once everybody is gone, once the visitors have stopped, and once you're putting everything back together and trying to now go through the person's life when they're not here. I suggest sitting down either with you or another family member and start having conversations. Do you know where somebody keeps their long-term care policy? Do you know what insurance plan they were covered with? Do you know who their phone service is covered with? Do you know if their cable gets covered by the HOA if these individuals live still in independent living? If they live in an assisted living facility or skilled nursing, who do we need to contact who's going to help us from step one to the end step in cleaning out and closing up shop for their loved one's apartment. Who do they contact? Who's this loved one's mortgage through? Have they ever had a will created? These are important questions. So I'm a visual person, and when I go into my clients' houses or have these conversations, I always like to try to find documentation, a binder, a bank statement, an accordion file folder, something that looks like somebody had already started planning and getting things together. And I like sitting at a big table and spreading everything out so I can get an understanding of if and when this person has started the planning process. Have they seen an attorney to have their estate documents drawn? Is their will and living will and medical power of attorney, is it updated? A lot of people don't think about that. I actually just recently had all my estate documents updated. I've been in Florida for 3.5 years, and I hadn't had them updated and did. So now, I'm not saying something can, God forbid, happen because I'm all taken care of, but at least I've taken care of what my children won't be left with to take care of when and if that day comes. I know this is like really non-fun stuff, but it really is necessary. I can't tell you how many husbands and wives and family members I have met over the years who really didn't have a clue. And I'll talk to them about, well, what did you talk about when you would get together with family? Have you ever had a death in the family? Has your father died? Has your mother died? And for some people that have already had a close family member passing away, they've kind of already had the experience of getting knee deep into somebody's personal life story, but other times they haven't. As you know, there are a lot of family members that really don't talk to each other. And a lot of those family members don't talk to each other when it comes to money, personal things, and everything in between. Whether it's the parents not wanting to, stress out their children, whether it's parents that don't want their kids knowing any of their personal business, or from way back when in previous generations, it just wasn't a thing. Families didn't sit around and talk about that stuff. Again, I would say, I guess we were different growing up. And that was because my dad got sick when he was younger. I also know about the trials and tribulations of estranged family members as it relates to their mom or their dad or a brother or a spouse getting ill and really needing to start talking about things. It's hard to forget the hurt when you need to start planning and start being supportive for that loved one. It really is. I know from personal experience it is. But I believe that when it comes to families having to dig deep and have these tough conversations about their loved one, at some point it makes it easier, at least for me, to table my emotions and just focus on the business at hand. Now, depending on what kind of family you come from, I have an older brother and a younger brother. So I was the princess. Things were pretty easy in my family as it related to planning for the inevitable. But in other families, there are two sisters, there are 3 brothers, there's close family members that are treated and that are more part of the family than the blood relatives. So every family dynamic is going to be different. And my recommendation to you is, do you have somebody that can be the neutral head of and voice of the family? Do you have somebody who isn't hot-headed? Do you have somebody that can, I don't know, be a really good go-between when things are getting really tough and personal family insults are flying. That's who you want at your table. You want somebody that can control the emotional ride that may or may not happen. I also would suggest when it's time to start talking about, reading of the will or going through personal items or starting to really uncover all the bills that may or may not have been paid in your family's house. Number one, don't get emotional. Number two, really try to have somebody maybe that has some more objectivity than you do that can help and be there. I would also recommend dividing and conquering, taking a few different pieces of your loved one's life. For example, I'm going to take care of Xfinity, the cell phone bill. I'm going to take a look at the office, and I'm going to go look and see if they had a paid bills file. Do they have an unpaid bills file? How did they keep all their bills? Do they still have a checkbook? Do they have an office? If they have an office, you know what? I'm gonna scope out the office and I'm gonna start working in there. If you don't have time anymore because time has already passed, then it's really up to us to try to find out and be our own investigative reporting. We have to figure out where is everything and how do we get access to all the accounts. Well, first of all, did your loved one ever have a beneficiary? Did your loved one ever leave directions in a safety deposit box? Did your loved one ever leave directions, I don't know, on a piece of paper on the refrigerator with a magnet? So if that was the case, you're in luck. So now you kind of have to piece everything together. But if you didn't have a loved one who wanted to really talk about this stuff, then you're going to kind of have to figure out what the story is. So the sooner you can get that and the sooner you can get access to bank accounts, any of their personal private information, long-term care insurance. Do they have a health insurance policy? Do they have a life insurance policy? Who's their broker? Do they have car insurance? What are the important policies that may or may not be filed in the house on behalf of my loved one? And where do I find this information? Sometimes it's going to be a rude awakening. As we've talked about before, people as they get older, their mental acuity starts or can start chipping away a little bit. And they forget. They used to have people come over and help them with their bill payment. They used to have somebody come over who was organized and would take care of things. And now that loved one or that helper is no longer there. And if that surviving spouse or friend doesn't have a person anymore and doesn't know how to ask for help, then that might be a sign of trouble. So it's really important to stay connected and close with the people that really need help the most. And as I said, going back to estranged relationships and estranged families, if you can figure out and find somebody to help out, that's the best gift you can ever give. Now, what I do, as I said before, I'm a daily money manager, and I'm associated with a national organization called the American Association of Daily Money Managers. I work with a lot of attorneys, financial people, lawyers, accountants, insurance agents, forensic accountants, and I can tell you that any one of those professionals will always be able to refer you to somebody that can help out. People know people, and people want to help out. What I would say to the younger generation, and I guess I'm talking to people that are my kids' ages. You're in the beginning of your life, starting your life, going and working. Maybe you just moved to a different city or state and you're starting all out on your own. And something happens to one of your parents. Would you know what to do? Would you know who to call? You're 25. You're just starting out and you have this horrible tragedy that happens. Now, I've talked a lot about being old school and how important it is. But what I would say is, as reliable as the computer is, always have a pad of paper, a pen and paper handy. Start writing your username and passwords. Start writing down all the websites that you visit. Start writing down contact information. Start writing down who's the investment advisor, who's the attorney, who's the accountant. Who do I need to call if something happens to my mother? It's so important. And I know you young people out there are thinking, well, I'm just going to get a list on, open up my phone and start typing in my notes and away we go. And I say, put down your phone, grab a pad of paper, grab a pen, and start writing. The grid has gone down before, and I'm sure it's going to go down again. So I suggest taking a dedicated notebook, maybe putting the name Mom on it. And maybe that notebook is just dedicated to everything Mom. Again, who pays the bills, who's her cable provider, who she uses what provider is her cell phone through. And if you have a dedicated notebook for each member of your family or for your mother, depending on how big your family is and who you're responsible for, at least you know that everything is in this notebook. It's your holy grail. It's your Bible. It's where you go. It's got your to-do list on there. And I'm a notebook kind of girl. My client just gave me a really pretty purple notebook, and I like the paper that's kind of got the grid on it because I have horrible handwriting. But by putting the topic of what that notebook represents, I've got everything in one place. I know who to call. I know what the passwords are. I know if my mother has a safety deposit box. And I know who her attorney is. And I know where the key to the safe is inside the house, which again is very important. I just bought a safe for a client of mine with a key. And I encouraged her to store important documents in there for when she does pass, and her partner will be able to find everything in one safe location. I know this isn't the fun stuff. I know it's a gorgeous day here in Delray Beach, and I'm sure you and I, all we want to do is take a walk down to the beach, walk on the sand, have the waves rush up to our feet, and enjoy the day. And we could do that. But what I encourage you all to do is take time, maybe today, maybe later this afternoon, maybe tomorrow, or maybe when you're sitting down at Thanksgiving dinner, is to start talking and start asking questions. And don't be afraid of the responses. Say to yourself, I am being responsible. I am taking control. I don't want to feel powerless when my loved one gets sick and I can no longer be there to help them. You're doing the right thing. You have a heart. You have a soul. And you want to help. And now how bad can that be? Now, in closing, as we prepare for Thanksgiving, I wish you all good things this coming Thanksgiving and this coming holiday season. And don't worry, folks, I won't be on the roads or in the store on Black Friday, but I hope you find it to be productive And I hope you have a great day trying to find that one present that is going to make you smile. Wishing you all good things, my friend. And don't forget to make it a great day and mind your nest. Thank you. To mind your nest.